Good afternoon, classmates. I apologize if you can't hear me. I have been battling pneumonia all week. This is the best my voice has been all week. But this is my Unit 8 course project presentation where I will explain the steps taken in this project and the rationale behind the solutions that have been proposed, as well as the steps to complete the IS development. The steps completed during this course project were business processes and roles, system architecture, data model, software, hardware, and security. So, for business processes and roles, the first step completed for developing our bike system IS, our bike share IS system, was defining the business processes. This step was needed to determine the purpose of the application and how it would function with defined user inputs. This allowed us to determine what inputs would be required by the user to enter into the app and then processed by our system once the information was entered and received. The next step is system architecture. During this step, I identified what type of IS architecture for the bike share system would be best. I chose to utilize a cloud-based architecture as it was the most appropriate architecture for creating a completely mobile app. The benefits of cloud-based architecture include reduced need for staff and management of the system, as the bike station would be operated remotely. In addition, all the data from multiple projects and branch offices would centralize to a single location, reducing hardware and additional infrastructure costs to manage the system. Data model. Based on the architecture, I chose to use a relational database as the data model. Based on the architecture, I chose to use a relational database as the majority of our system processes are transactional in nature. A relational database made the most sense for storing data such as customer information, ride history, date and time of each transaction, and current inventory of bikes per station. This information would allow us to determine customer ordering patterns, determine inventory needed per location, and potential new markets for growth and scalability. Once I determined the database needs, the next step was completing the model of data structure to determine what tables were needed and how the process would function in the system. Software. After designing the system, data model, and data structure, the next was determining the software needs. Based on the needs for that bike IS, the system would need several different types of software. A mobile application software that the user could interface with and submit information to the database. Relational database software to store all the required information. Relational database software was needed to store all the required information for the system. GPS tracking software to monitor the location of the bikes, and CRM, customer relationship management software, to analyze the data and allow the company to make more informed key decisions for improved financial growth and scalability. So sorry. Hardware. After defining the architecture, data model, and software needs, I was then able to determine what hardware would be needed for the bike system. The bike system needed actual stations to physically secure and recharge bikes. RFID hardware is properly identifying each bike. GPS monitoring devices to GPS monitoring devices to track the location of each bike for anti-theft and inventory management purposes. Having a cloud-based architecture reduced the amount of hardware needed to effectively manage the system. And security. As our IS system was cloud-based, there was a strong emphasis placed on IT security. Access control protocols was the first security area to address. Having access protocols in place restricted the access to different areas of the database based on the role of the user. Example, customer could only see their specific user information for ride history and user profile. In addition, utilizing hashing to encrypt user information was important to reduce the amount of exposure to potential hackers. In the instance user lost their account information, firewalls were also used to migrate the threat of spamware and other types of malware. By breaking down the project into specific steps and processes, I was able to develop an effective bike share IS system. Thank you.